All right, so what's going on YouTube? So I was really in a hurry and I needed a bunch of French macarons. So I brought in a whole troop of circus chimps to make these for me overnight, and no, not really. If you could see my face right now, it's just a look of sadness and disgust, and yeah. But to my defense, when I went to pastry school, I hate to date myself, but it was many years ago, and back then, French macarons really just was not a thing, really, to speak of. I mean, obviously they were in France, but but I mean, over the years, I've made some French macarons, but wow, are these little buggers tricky. So anyway, we're gonna try to get my skills up here and try a different approach than these little disasters. So let's get started on the salted caramel French macarons. I have left the almond flour out to dry just like this overnight, and then I also put this almond flour in the convection oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes to further dry this out. And you want this as dry and powdery as possible. Always make sure that you get the skinless blanched almond flour, as fine as you can get it. And we'll be further processing this in the food processor for a little bit to make it a little finer consistency. But also, I'm going to be sifting that with this powdered sugar as our first step. And I like using this Domino's confectioner sugar. It is non-GMO. So the first thing we're going to do is sift these two together. Now is the time to break out your larger mixing bowl if you're going to be making a larger quantity. I'll be leaving the entire recipe down below the description box for anyone who wants to make this recipe. This is going to make at least 100 finished macarons, but I need them. So let's get started on that. So you can just work this together a little bit at a time. We're going to sift this a total of 3 times and then buzz this in the food processor. So there we go. That's been sifted 3 times. Now I'm just going to take my whisk in here and after you're done processing your confectioner sugar and the almond flour together, you should have a nice fine powdery blend like that. And now we're going to move on to making the French meringue. So if you saw my chocolate French macarons video, then you probably recall that with the chocolate macarons, I used an Italian meringue, which is a cooked meringue and stabilized with a hot sugar syrup. With these, I'm going to be trying another method with the French meringue to see if I can get better results with this, since it seems like a lot of pastry chefs and other YouTubers like to use this French meringue. So all that is just a meringue stabilized. I'm going to use some cream of tartar in this. So it's easiest to do a meringue, in my opinion, in a stand mixer. So I'm putting my egg whites in here. These are aged overnight. I just let them set out. That's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. So that's just going to help with your macaron shells, hopefully with some of the moisture evaporated in these egg whites. They won't expand as much in the oven and crack the shells or make the shells come out hollow. So I'm just experimenting here. I'm going to see how this method works. Just put that in a stand mixer. Make sure when you're making a French meringue like this that's not cooked, make sure that your bowl is completely clean and there's no grease or fat in there or on your whisk. So just start to get this frothy. So after you beat that up a little bit, now we're going to start slowly streaming this organic granulated sugar down in there. And as I said, I'm going to be using some of this cream of tartar. You can just get this in your spice aisle. And for this amount, probably put close to a scant half teaspoon or so. That should do the trick, I would think. So you're going to want to keep a close eye on these because I did a little bit of research, and one of the problems that I think I see a lot of people doing is they're beating their egg whites to a very stiff peak. I think that it's best to whip these until they're nice and glossy and maybe more of a medium peak. Not exactly soft, not exactly a stiff peak. And I think that will give your egg whites a little more room to expand in the oven and maybe create a nicer macaron shell. So we shall see. Let's see where we're at on this. I'm going to give this another 10 seconds or so, maybe 15. Okay, that's between a soft and a stiff peak. It's drooping, the peaks are drooping a little bit, but they're not standing up all the way, and it's not just flopping over. So that's where I'm going to stop this, and we'll give these medium peaks a try here. So with this much almond flour and confectioner sugar, we're going to have to do this in a few different stages. So now I ended up sifting this 4 total times. I even sifted it again after I processed it. So hopefully that's enough. So now another problem that I think I had with my buttercream version is that I just totally overmixed the batter. So this time I'm going to try to be a little more gentle with this. So with this much dry ingredients, this is probably going to take me at least 5 or 6 installments here. So just make sure that you're scooping under and not completely destroying this, but you do want to work it. And I'll show you what I think the end result should be. So I'm probably folding this batter about between 15 and 20 times every time I add some more dry ingredients. That might be a little too much, but we're going to try to get this macaron batter to make ribbons off of the end of the rubber spatula, but you can see we're not there yet. We need to keep folding. So just fold and add, fold and add, a little bit at a time, and don't overbeat this. But do make sure you're getting down to the bottom. As you can see, there was some dry ingredient there. Make sure all of that's getting incorporated. Okay, I think I'm going to stop right there. So as far as the bags and tips, I find this type of batter so sticky and hard to work out of my usual. I usually use the plastic coated canvas bags. Those are my favorite, kind of what I grew up using. But I think that in the case of macarons, the disposable bags are definitely a good idea. So also I'm using this is an Antico tip. It's an 806. It's just an open tip like that. So best thing to do, just kind of like twist it up a little bit and put it down into a canister like that, or if you're not making as much batter, you could just use a smaller bag and a larger, like a large drinking glass or something like that. And that's going to make your life a lot easier to try to get this in here. Just fill your bag up here. We'll probably put a good amount. So just hold your piping bag straight up and down. And I'm definitely opting for the silicone mats myself. Just drop about a quarter size macaron on there and give it a little twist at the top. I am hoping I can get better at piping these. These are definitely a skill that you will need to practice. I think you can give it a little tap. Now, I have lots more of these to pipe out, so I'm going to pipe out all of my trays. You need to let this rest for at least, I would say, a half an hour to 45 minutes. And you'll know that you're good to go after you can put your finger on these and they're dry on top and nothing comes away at your finger. I'll show you what that looks like here in a little bit. I'm also going to be sprinkling a little bit of flaky sea salt on top of this before it dries. So just put your macaron shells to the side, let these rest for about half an hour or so, and I'm going to get to piping the rest of these caramel macarons. Okay, so it's been about half an hour at least, and probably these first ones that I piped, yeah, you can definitely feel that none of this is coming off on my finger. So put these into 275 to 300 degrees. Make sure you check the temperature of your oven to make sure that it is not over 300. These will start to brown and get scorched real easy. So yeah, make sure you check your oven temperature, and these will take about 12-14 minutes or so. Keep an eye on them. And so we're going to bake all these off, and I'll show you what these look like. So there you have it. Basically just put your caramel in a bag. I'm not even using a tip on this because it's kind of gooey, so it's a little cumbersome like this. But just put about, I don't know what that is, I'll say 15 grams or so. Maybe not quite. Depends on how much you like caramel, you know, but really that's, I mean, you know, somewhere in there between those two should be right. And now when you're done with these, you can wrap them airtight and just put them in the refrigerator for a couple of days before you consume them. They'll take on a really nice texture that way if you give these time to mature in the refrigerator. And yeah, there you go. I just can't wait though, so let's try one of these incredible little cookies out. This just looks, the caramel and the salt. Let's put these on a plate. So here is the finished product, the sea salted caramel French macarons, and this is my first attempt at these, and I have a long way to go before I have attained macaron perfection. However, I feel like these are okay. They came out all right. Use good ingredients, you get good tasting results, and I can work on the rest of the details as we go here, but for right now I just can't stop myself anymore. I'm gonna have one of these and let you know what I think of it. Obviously these will taste better if you give them time to mature in the refrigerator for a couple of days. That will give them a more chewy set texture in the center, but I'm not waiting 2 days. I don't know about you. Yep, just like always, these are ridiculously tasty. The caramel is extremely creamy and rich. It's a slow cooked, delicious dulce de leche style fresh dairy caramel, and the salt with that caramel is just off the chains. It's just incredible. After a day or two of maturing, the center will get really nice and set. These are, even now, they're just chewy and absolutely fantastic. So I hope that you'll give these a try. I left the entire recipe down in the description box below the video. Please like and subscribe, and visit my new website, cineposh.com. The link is down in the description as well. You can buy some products from me, the things that I make each week. I'm going to put them on there for a limited time and offer them to local subscribers. And stay tuned till next time. Thanks so much for joining me.